It's a familiar scene, one rare in the same season, a return to the same venue. Fortunately, we had to come back to one. This one's a beauty. Welcome to Circuit of the Americas for Pirelli GT4 America Sprintx action as we are getting set for the first of two races to unfold in this category over the weekend. It is round 12 of the championship. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine down in the pits and on the pre-grid. As you take a look at the iconic S's here, it's remarkable to come back, but of course this is a season of strange and unique developments here. But it's good to be back at this one, Cal. Take a look at this track. Really, it's got three vastly different sectors.
So unique. You start with that run from the start-finish line, up that hill, 133 feet of elevation change, big, wide-open brake zone, lots of action up there throughout the race, and particularly on the opening lap. And then it really winds up the speed through those high-speed S's to finish Sector 1, then down in the very critical brake zone for turn 11, and the long stretch down into that third sector. That's where it gets really tight, really twisty, really technical. You need the car working through there with great balance to finish off the lap. Lap is just shy of 3.5 miles. It's a busy one.
And I swear Herman Tilke, when he borrowed from a lot of the great venues around the world to use it as inspiration, he was twisting his mustache with those wide open apexes to invite people to do things that can have huge consequences on the exit. We take a look at the field. Big story here, sweep of the front row for ST Racing. And also for the silver category, Nick Whitmer on pole in the number 28, John Miller in the number 38. And it also has points implications because in all three of the classes within the Sprintx division, Cal, interesting things are happening in the points.
Yeah, it's really tight in the silver category. Only a single point separates the Andretti Autosport duo of Mullen and Andretti over Nick Whitmer, who sits on the pole here today, and his teammate Harry Gottsaka. And good for ST Racing, they've got a wingman on the outside there with John Muller and obviously Samantha Tan, who shares that car with him. But when you look a little deeper into the Pro-Am category, 10-point lead for Nola Sport right now over the team that has massive momentum. Flying Lizard Racing with Michael Dine and Robbie Foley. 4 wins at the last 5 events, but the big key is Michael is not available here tomorrow, so they've got to score points here today to try and minimize the damage.
Absolutely, and then in the AM category, you see on pole Sean Gibbons. They come in here looking awfully strong in the championship. In fact, clinchable today.
It is amazing. There's 4 rounds remaining in this championship, and if they score points here today, that they'll do, if they're running at the 70% mark, the title will be theirs. Well deserved. What a season they put together.
Yeah, it's been just remarkable. Interesting, the Motorsports USA McLaren of Michael McAleenan putting that AM car on the pole, however, in that category. I said it was Sean, it was actually Michael McAleenan. They are strong here, so it's not like this is going to go quietly or easily for sure for that number 7 machine of Sean Gibbons and Zach Anderson. We talked about the ST sweep in the front row. How about the second row? All Panos in the Panos Racing Esperante Avezanos. Big story there. Obviously, we expected to see Matt Keegan and Ian James. They ran at Road America. The team car was supposed to run there after a testing crash. It didn't make it. Here we were expecting to see Roman DeAngelis partnered by Preston Calvert. Preston, unfortunately, in a race last weekend out on the West Coast, had a little bit of an incident. He had to skip this weekend. We sure miss him. He's been such a great supporter of this championship, but it brings back another gentleman that we've had in this category a lot in the past, Parker Chase.
Young Parker Chase, and he's still young, and he's still displaying tremendous speed. So local track for him. I'm sure he's going to want to put on a show for the home fans.
Yeah, it's good. They swept the second row, so it's certainly going to be intriguing to watch this unfold. Their good look at John Miller as he sits on board that BMW M4 GT4 from ST Racing. Aaron Vogel, of course, partnered with Michael Cooper in the Flying Lizard Motorsports McLaren. Each race, they seem to be getting a little bit more of a handle on this car. And Road America, we started to see some really good performances.
Yeah, they're knocking on the door, and it's really been a building year for Aaron and her teammate. Michael Cooper is just a tremendous asset for that whole group. He runs a McLaren in the Sprint Championship with Black Dog, so certainly bringing some of that knowledge over, but not sharing too many secrets.
Right.
That's the name of the game there. But yeah, I think they're going to come away from this season and use this as a building year to really come out strong to start the 2021 campaign.
Do have to ask you a question. At Road America, a track where we really weren't thinking the car might be as good as it turned out to be, that Marco Polo Motorsports KTM Crossbow, the current 2020 version of that car, was phenomenal at Road America, a track where with the massively long straights and the like, you weren't sure about it. You would think Cota, with all of the tight, twisty technical parts of this track, that'd be where that card shine. No less a driver than Nikolai Helge-Hanian could only qualify at 10.
Yeah, and Mads Siljehaug, his teammate, similar situation for the race here tomorrow. So this is a team looking at my notes coming into this weekend, massive momentum. 3 wins out of the last 5, only 20 points out of the championship lead. And if they put on a strong one here, they could be right into it as we get to Indy. But they've got a lot of work to do from the middle of the grid. Bit of a surprise, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Now, later in the race, when they do the driver change, they don't change tires. This is Sprintx in the GT4 format, so no tire changes. That car could get better. We just saw that Dexter Racing Ginetta, that car in March here when we came here, put on a spectacular show in the latter half of the races, as we're looking at it right there, just absolutely flogging its way up through the field as that lightweight, agile car in the hands of the very talented Ben Anderson, who will be starting here today, was just spectacular. So that's one of the great things about this category is after those driver changes, you get late into this hour-long race on that same set of tires, dynamics change.
It really does, and that's what's great about GT4 competition. It's such a melting pot of different brands, different machinery, different manufacturers, and they all perform at different parts around this race circuit. So the Ginetta, as you said, lighter weight, good on the tires. Looking back at some of the video that they sent us in the opening round, it made me want to put my helmet back on, literally. It was so exciting to watch, so expect a show from those guys here today.
You just had a look at the 47 NOLA Sport Best Energy entry of Matt Travis. His opportunistic pass to get around Andretti and Dynan at Road America around the outside of turn 14, essentially, after they got wide in the Billy Mitchell turn was spectacular. I talked to him about it. He said it was really risky, and he said, I knew it could all go wrong. And he said, I was so delighted when I ended up in front of those guys without any contact. It was a massive move, and Travis and, of course, Jason Hart are going to be well on form here as well. It's a pretty stacked group.
It really is, but, you know, they just missed out on that championship last year with a big run at the end of the year with Stephen Cameron racing with Quinlan and Leah Fouge, but they have that points lead. They know this is a critical weekend. They have to take advantage of the fact that Flying Lizard will not be participating here tomorrow, so they've got a 10-point lead going in today. They can try and keep it around that number, not lose too many, and gain tomorrow. That puts them in great shape to finally get that championship win at Indy in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Field now out on the first of what is supposed to be 2 formation laps. With that, let's get down to the pit lane, meet the third member of the team. Hello, Mr. Marine.
Hello, Greg. Hello, Calvin. Wanted to update you guys on the B Sport Racing Aston Martin. The combination of Brian Putt and Kenton Cook really came into this weekend with a great deal of momentum. They've scored 5 straight podium finishes. Still looking for that first win of the season, but they are getting closer. That said, that attempt to get that first win of the season really suffered a setback in testing yesterday when Brian had a very hard crash. The crew had to work overnight. Really, in the middle of the night is when they finally got those repairs finalized. And in doing so, they feel like they are ready to go today. They got a hardship lap a bit earlier this morning. They said everything is good to go, but they have to start at the back of the pack as they did not register a time in qualifying. So like I said, some momentum coming into the weekend, but definitely struggling from the perspective of that crash yesterday. Really a setback for them looking ahead to the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, I just happened to, Ryan, run into Brian, the pre-grids over by our TV compound, and I saw him out there, and he said the hardship lap went well. He said they're fairly confident that they're going to have a car that's going to be strong, and he's going to do what he can to get to the front. And he said, boy, these crews are just something very special. We've talked about that plenty of times in the past.
Yeah, and the Aston Martin has proved to be a really strong platform for a lot of teams this year, and particularly for that group coming off 5 consecutive podiums. You'd have to feel they came into this weekend kind of feeling we've got all of the ingredients now. We've figured out the recipe to get this car working well, and then you have a problem like that. But long weekend, it's all about bouncing back and picking yourself back up again.
This is such an amazing facility here, and we talked about how Herman Tilke borrowed from some great legendary venues around the world that he also designed to sort of make this a unique format. You've got the S's, obviously, from Silverstone were part of the first group, then the S's from Suzuka, the second part, stadium section from Hockenheim, and that 16, 17, 18 triple apex right-hander right from the Istanbul track, just in reverse and downhill to make things interesting. And then turn 19, I think that one right there, one of the trickier corners on this track. You turn in, you can't really see the apex, and if you miss it a little bit, there's a lot of runoff out there, but that's one of the areas where we're seeing track limit issues here. And this is with all this massive paved runoff, we do tend to see that here.
You do, and I just communicated with Brian Till, the race director for the championship, and he said basically red and white, you're all right. So when you see the red and white curbing on the exit of some of these corners, as long as you have one tire on that, you're going to be okay. And you know, I think, to be honest with you, they were calling a lot of infractions during qualifying when the lap time is super critical, but in the race, unless it's egregious, you know, and you're not just off in a different zip code,
exactly.
like you can certainly be there through 19 and 20, for example, they're probably going to let them race.
I think the bigger issue is not the going off, it's how you come back on.
Yeah, and also cutting through like the S's
yes.
here. You can just cut through the inside of those sleeping policemen, as we call them, the heavier orange cones that you see there.
They don't look that big from certain camera angles, but believe me, when you hit them at speed in a firmly set up race car, they get your attention, if not do some significant damage. Love this section of the track. That's 8 and 9, and you've got to get well through 8 to get through 9 fast. You've got a really quick kink here in turn 10. And then turn 11, it's a spot where you can make an overtake, but if you get it wrong, it can hurt you all the way down that long back straight, can it?
Yeah, you really do. You come in on a shallow angle, so you're late to get the hands opened up and getting back to power. So if someone's just patient, they can easily come back underneath you on the exit to the corner. So it's great for racing. I mean, I think that's what's great about the layout of this circuit. I think it took people a long time to get their head wrapped around it. I think when I first came here, I thought, well, this is a downforce track. Yeah, great for F1 cars through the S's,
right.
But you get a heavier GT car, not such a great effect. But I think now we've certainly embraced it, and I think it really puts on great racing, which is what it's all about.
And certainly has opportunities aplenty for overtaking, and we love that. See, the lights are now out on the Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle of SRO Motorsports America. Once they get to turn 12, all of this weaving is supposed to stop.
Supposed to.
That's, again, kind of like the pirate code, more of a guide, really. And then we get things set up and get going with this one. Again, 60 minutes, 2 drivers, mandatory pit stop, but just drivers.
Just drivers, yeah. And the minimum stop time today is 82 seconds, so that will happen between the 25 and 35-minute mark of this 60-minute race. Beautiful day out there. It's nice to see these summer temps cooling down around the whole country.
Well, you think about what we had when we came here in March, when it was cold and rainy, and I mean chilly and rainy, and then to have this kind of weather here at this venue at this time of year is absolutely wonderful. Starting to pair up, front row, 2 teams sweeping those top 2 rows side by side.
To see how they're going to play the team orders here between the 2 ST Racing drivers on the front row. Nick Whitmer really needs a maximum score here to try and overhaul the Andretti Autosport guys. But you know that John Miller is a hard racer, as we've seen all season long on the outside of the front row.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And the 2 Panos cars behind it, they have no chance at any championship, having just joined, so they're out just simply for results. Then Andretti there on the outside of row 3. We are about ready to get after it here. You go by the finish line right there, but for the start, the original start of the race, it's down to this white line a little bit closer to us underneath the gantry. And there we go, green flag. We are underway, round 12, Pirelli GT4 America Sprintx. And Whitmer eases into the lead. Miller not able to do much with it, and they fan out as they often do down here, but looks like everybody's being relatively circumspect, except for the 4 abreast back behind the field a little bit.
Yeah, and Andretti's, you expect on the opening laps, of cold tires, put them all on the line and squeeze around the outside to move from 6 immediately up to the 4th position.
He is something
damage to the McLaren there in the middle of the pack.
Yeah, that's the second of those Motorsport USA entries, I believe.
Looks like Matt Keegan didn't get the best of starts there. Has been dropped a little bit here. Had a good initial run up into turn 1 and then was a little bit circumspect on the brakes and allowed his teammate and also Andretti to sweep around the outside. There's Michael Dynam. What a season he's put together, Greg. Just amazing, both Sprint and Sprintx competition. Yeah,
their win total across the 2 has been just spectacular, and they've just been getting it right pretty much as of late. Look at this, side by side here. And that is Keegan. No, that's Parker Chase, who is taking a run here at Miller. And look at Andretti right there with him.
Well, this is where that Panos is probably going to struggle compared to the BMW and the McLaren is in the straightaway stretches here, but it's so good on the brakes. Let's see what Parker can do here. Gives it up to Andretti, who kind of takes that lane away from him. So good, clean racing here, but this is the sector where that Panos should be really strong.
This is what they call the stadium section.
Oh, see.
Yeah, Marco Polo and
maybe a contact
Quinlan.
there, yeah, with Quinlan down in turn 12 brake zone.
Yeah, well, Gainey and Quinlan looks like they may have come together. There's the Janetta of Ben Anderson from Dexter Racing. Right there.
It's the 7 car.
Yeah, it's having a great run. It's the 47 right next to him. So, oh boy, Dynan absolutely sideways, coming through the first of those triple right-handers. Able to hang on to it, but he was so close to sliding right in to a competitor.
Look at the damage there on the crossbow. He's going to have to hit pit lane, I think. Still trying to fight it out there, but you can see the parts just flailing.
That is significant.
Potential debris and maybe cut down tires on the following lap here.
So in comes Elganian, and boy, what a tough start to this race again. So impressive at Circuit of the Americas. Cars at the back that look like they may have been struggling coming out of turn 20. Keep an eye on that, but it's Whitmer, Miller, Andretti, Parker Chase, and Jeff Burton, man on the move, and there sits the 19 of Quinlan, the Steve Cameron Racing. BMW, looks like he's trying to punch the sequence into the steering wheel to get things restarted, Cal.
Yeah, and I think he still sits down in the turn 12 brake zone. We now see Elganian's crew, Marco Polo Motorsports, going to go try and get it fixed up, try and beat the pack as they come back around and not go down as we may see a full course yellow with that car strand. Let's take a look at it in the backdrop. Oh, Nikolai, big late move there. Just clips the left front corner of Sean, takes him into the other BMW in the mix there.
Yeah, there were a number of cars that ran wide down in that corner before they even arrived. And there's, I think, a lot of good fortune for some there to not have this be a lot more cars involved in what could have been a big incident here. And there you are, spot on, Cal. Safety car comes out.
Yeah, and looking at that again, I just wondered whether on relatively cold tires, Nikolai just overcommitted on the brakes, maybe got into that ABS where it basically is taking away brake pressure. You're not slowing down as much. So he came into our picture at a fair old rate of speed there. And basically there's nothing you can do. You're trying to stop the car, and the car's trying to take some of the braking force away from you.
I wonder what the issue is there. Just not able to get that restarted, it would appear.
Sometimes when you take a clip like that, it can sometimes knock something electronically adrift in the motor department.
So right now it is Jeff Burton in the number 91 Reardon Racing, Burton Lumber, Aston Martin, 5th overall. That has gone to the lead in Pro-Am in front of Matt Keegan in the Panos Racing Esperante Avezzano. And sitting third in that category is the 63 Ben Anderson, the Dexter Racing car, then the 21 of Dynan. And they need to be making up a lot more points than that. And they sit fourth with Matt Travis in 5th in the 47 Vest Energy NOLA Sport car. Then in 10th overall is your AM leader, Michael McAleenan, actually now shown in 9th overall, as he's in front of Travis.
Yeah, just starting to cycle here as we cross the stripe here, and we can see the 71 car has gone down a lap as they try and get it taped up.
And Sean Gibbons in the number 7 NOLA Sport entry has dropped a couple of overall spots, but still sits second in the category.
Really impressive qualifying performance for Sean. He's really getting a lot of confidence now with his driving, and his speeds have been immense this year.
Yes.
To be up, mixing it up with Matt Travis there in the start of this race is pretty impressive.
And Sean is a local area resident. He very much considers this the home track. And they've been in that battle throughout the season to just keep the funding alive to be able to get to each event. And they've had a local company out of McKinney, Texas, here step up. Stuart Title is on the car to make sure they can get to this round and then take them all the way through to Indy. They're going to try and partner for that as well. So let's keep the fingers crossed. Take a look at the start here, and everything looked pretty good, Cal, but watch for Andretti, as he always seems to do.
Yeah, and you see Matt Keegan there on the apex there, just has room to slow his car a little bit, allows his teammate to sweep around the outside, and pretty congested there in the back few rows.
Smoke off the back of the 25. That's the Cole Serralo BMW.
That's a team that's been having a great year, CCR.
Oh, absolutely. 21 of Diamond as he's attacking on the 91 of Burton. Similar cars, different teams.
And I think for the Reardon Racing Group, I think with the lockdown with the COVID situation, that really hurt their ability to do testing even in the early stages and not get races under their belt more frequently. So, but they've been showing a lot of pace this summer.
They have. They've really started to get their hands around that car. And, of course, Paul Terry racing it in the sprint category gives them a little bit of extra data to be able to play with here. And whatever this is, it's significant because that contact did not look like it was that much. But like you said, it just knocks a sensor off. And meanwhile, as the Marco Polo KTM heads back out on track, what's the word for the pits, Ryan?
Well, as you guys talked about, they did lose a lap in that sequence. That's the unfortunate thing. The big concern appeared to be the left rear. They were making sure everything in the suspension was nice and tight the way that you would like it. And they have released the cars, so at least in the short term, it must be good enough to send them back out. They had to take some body work off. I think you guys saw them taping some of the loose body work back together. And frankly, that's what took the longest amount of time. It's really unfortunate for this team. They won the last 2 races in class, including an overall win back at Road America. They had made their way up to 30 points, just 19 points out of the silver class lead coming into this weekend. But a major setback here just as this race got started.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how long, if that bodywork holds together back there with the loads here. And here's the number 111 that is down in the pits. That's Todd Clark, the second of the Motorsport USA McLaren 570S GT4s, and that was the one that I saw. You can see the damage to the right rear corner that was also involved in the early going, and that doesn't look good, does it?
No, I see some smoke emanating from the engine bay there, so I'm not sure if one of the coolers has been ruptured or something, but not a good day for them. They'll try and rebound. It's the nice thing with these double headers, you can come back tomorrow, but certainly not the weekend they were looking for so far.
The team car, at least, continuing to fly the flag for them as they sit 9th overall, but lead in the AM class, the number 3 in the hands of McAleenan. Just taking a look a little bit farther back, Brian Putt, who obviously had that big issue. We talked about the off, Ryan did, in the test days, and crew had to pull a virtual all-nighter and get that put together, and he has worked his way up into 15th thus far. 7th in the Pro-Am category.
Yeah, and I think that's good for them. So moving up the order, got a little bit of a reset here. Going to have another go. Chandler Hull that's right in front of him, and some of the other cars within his class. And the key is going to be keeping it towards the pointy end by the time he turns it over to Kenton Cook. The team is really well versed in terms of the pit stops. They've got really good technical crew there. So you expect them to be right on the number in terms of the delta, the minimum time spent on pit lane, and you put Kenton Cook behind the wheel, they can still maybe even go after that 6th consecutive podium.
It's not without the realm of possibility, that's for sure. Big story here to me, Cal, is number 82 of James Walker Jr. He talked about he had qualified 13th, 6th in the Pro-Am category. He's currently 21st, and so he must have been caught up in something in the early going. I wonder if he wasn't also involved in that multiple car series of moments down in turn 12, but he's just plummeted down the order. We know he's pretty quick, and his co-driver's got some skill.
Yeah, they've been hot and cold though, right?
Yes,
they've either been dominant and winning, or fighting out for the wins at least, or really struggling. I mean, there was a couple of bizarre races where Bill Oberlin was backing up in a race, and you don't say that very often. So just trying to get a grip on a couple of mysterious handling things they couldn't quite figure out in terms of the compact race weekends, but nonetheless, they've got a little bit of regrouping here today because qualifying looked pretty strong for them. So I think you're right, he did get involved in that first lap somewhere and lost a bundle of positions.
Lights are out on the Acura NSX, so means we should be going back to green here, and still plenty of racing yet to go. Probably by the time we get to green, about 48 minutes left in this one, so fair amount of time even before we get to that pit stop window. Everybody working hard to make sure those tires are scrubbed clean.
Yeah, getting them scrubbed, and also try to build a little bit of temperature into the tires as well, which is not done so much with the scrubbing, you know, weaving backwards and forwards, more done with the brake pedal, and basically riding your left foot on the brake and your right foot on the gas pedal, just trying to generate a little bit of brake temp, and then comes up through the upright, up through the wheel and everything, and into the tire.
Just taking a look at who to be watching is always keep your eyes on Andretti on the restarts. But it's going to be interesting to see here the 21 of Dynan. He could certainly use a little bit of a launch here, as we've talked about their need to get as many points as they can today, since they'll be missing the race tomorrow. We're about to find out. This is that very tricky turn 19. And the key is once you come out of this last turn here, Whitmer opening that angle up as much as he could here. They're allowed to roll into the throttle at the apex of 20, and he wanted to have that car as straight as possible as the green flag is out.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Even though he's got his teammate behind him, he wanted to make sure he executed and getting the launch off that final corner, turn 20. Line astern into the brake zone. Look at the uphill climb there, and the car really slows dramatically once you go that middle pedal.
Look at Dynan trying to work away to get around that number 63 Ginetta. He was alongside with that Ginetta. This is the part of the track where that Ginetta absolutely flies. And Dynan needs to stay just close enough to be able to get a run on him down through 11 and down that long run into 12.
See how it just seems to grip through these high-speed S's here. That Ginetta, Dynan's struggling to kind of get the rhythm yet and get the comfort factor with his car on these relatively cold tires.
Keegan and McElhenney having a bit of a battle. That's for the 8th spot overall. Matt Keegan. And then McElhenney, the leader in the AM category, back up front.
Miller defends there down in the turn 11 brake zone from Jared Andretti. Jared Andretti looking down to the inside. He recognizes he has the championship lead, and the team that is chasing him the hardest is just 1 point behind and sits in the lead right now. He's now got a big draft going on John Miller as they head down towards turn 12.
This is going to be interesting because that BMW has got good straight line speed. We know the McLaren does as well. And it looked like Andretti had the draft. Now he's going to switch, go to the outside, sweeps the outside, and it looks like he may have made that work. Now Miller cuts to the inside, straight to the apex, but he knew Andretti was just going to shut that door.
Well, I think that's the key with Jared Andretti. We recognize that he gets up on the wheel early and quickly, and I think the drivers have either raced with him or seen him race and know that he's not going to give you an inch. So that's the intimidation factor. Michael Andretti used to have it as well. Do you know what I mean? And you know when you go racing against those guys, it's going to be really tough to make a move.
Nobody in the...
Ooh, Ginetta really wide there. Anderson trying to get it back on. I think Dynan might have a run on him.
Yes. Oh, look at this. Nice run here by Parker Chase. Got a great drive. And now Dynan way wide through turn number 19.
Not sure if he was forced out there at the apex of 19 or not, but certainly the still to take a look at. And he gives it up anyway, or has to give it up on the exit of 20 to the Ginetta.
Well, you almost wonder if the Ginetta, if Anderson felt Dynan forced him wide through that 16, 17, 18. So he had no qualms about pushing Dynan wide 19. This is going to be an interesting little duel. Dynan going to try and square up here. But once you get here into turn number 2, it's going to be tough duty to work your way past this Ginetta. Oh boy, he really carried some speed though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And I think Michael Dynan's car, maybe tire temperature-wise, is starting to get more into the zone where it likes to be. Back on the Ginetta.
Fun to watch this, as you talked about it, all this wide variety of equipment is performance balanced to get them as close. And the thing is, they get them as close to being able to run a similar lap time. But how you do it, that's what makes it fascinating.
It really is a real concertina effect, particularly around a circuit like this with the high-speed stretches like we're about to see from turn 11 down to turn 12. You can see someone literally open up 3 to 4 car lengths, and then it all goes away within the next few corners.
Let's see here with Dynan, he's able to close the distance up. You can see how quickly Ginetta able to get through 11 and onto the throttle.
I think that's one of the cool things that we've seen is that the BOP process is working in terms of getting cars like the Ginetta, like the Crossbow, that were just so extreme in terms of flying around the corners and were breathless down the straightaways, a lot closer.
Yes.
We don't see the massive delta that we did in the first couple of years of competition.
Well,
Chase there at the inside of Miller is going to make that easy.
Miller really looked like he overshot turn 12 as he was on the brakes past the apex. And that just got him completely out of rhythm, and Parker pounced on that.
He did, and Parker certainly using every inch of the track limits. As we said, red and white is all right, according to Brian Till.
Yeah.
So, but that means you've got to have one part of that Pirelli P0 touching it.
The interesting question that I have, and it's because of the incident with Preston Calvert out in Monterey last weekend that prevented him from coming here, you wonder how much time Parker has in a Panos Esperante Avezzano GT. Looks like he's got plenty.
Yeah.
He is really up on the wheel and doing a beautiful job.
Yeah, he really is. And just got word that there may be a penalty coming for the 71 car. I believe that they did cause that collision down into turn 12, so that may be a penalty for tomorrow's race. We'll have to wait and see how things work out on that. But meanwhile, 15 car continues to run in the 7th position in class. That's Brian Putt.
Chandler Hull in that TAC Energy Classic BMW machine, sitting right on his 6. And then Jason Bell in the
Look at Belgrado there, just cutting across
couple
these
of them
S's.
did. Yeah, Brian Putt just followed him.
He said red and white is all right. I think he was still touching the white barely there. Might be a rethink on that for the S's. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, exactly.
If you took that to extreme, you could have 3/4 of the car in the grass through that one.
Yeah, I mean, define red and white is kind of a difficult one, but look at this. He's lunging, looking down to the inside on Belluardo. Oh, and that's Matt Dalton, Joe Dalton. He goes by the name of Matt, but he's listed as Joe on all the entry lists, and he's had a bit of a spin there in the Not Lad Racing by RS1 entry.
Car's been really quick here this weekend. Patrick Gallagher actually put it on the pole for tomorrow's race, but I believe there was a technical infraction, Greg.
Yeah, they were just, you know, one of those classics, just a couple of millimeters low on ride height or something like that. And rules are rules. So they had to start at the back, and unfortunately Patrick, who had that pole you talked about, for tomorrow's race will be starting from the back as well. But that car has been very, very fast. They had that miserable weekend at Sonoma, and then once they figured it out, that car has been just a rocket ship. Oh, there's a touch. Brian getting into the back of Belluardo.
This has allowed Jason Bell to have a good run there.
Oh, and Hull got through on both of them.
So it's feisty. Aaron Vogel right in the
Yes,
mix
it is.
there as well.
Zelganian recovering. Down a lap.
And this is where, even if you're frustrated about the earlier moment, you just got to really respect the other racers out there involved. As now Nikolai hits for that apex on turn 20 and takes the position away.
As look at this, Putt got down underneath Belluardo into turn 20, and now Belluardo trying to do the counter punch. That's the Team RS1 car. This is the Porsche. Putt has to defend on it. Was able to fend him off at that point. Move up the order just a little bit. Jeff Burton, the number 91 Burton Lumber Reardon Racing entry. He's the leader in the AM category, and Ben Anderson in that Dexter Racing Ginetta. This is for the lead in the Pro-Am category.
Ooh,
Oh,
a little slip there. Anderson tries to set him up. Watch Dynan, though. He's going to get run on both of them. Watch by the time we get to turn 11. Dynan could be in front of both of these cars.
yeah, Anderson got crossed up as well. Ooh, touch.
That's pretty aggressive there. Really nip and tuck there down in the brake zone. They both run wide. Watch the Ginetta. He goes back underneath them.
There is damage to that left front of the BMW that's being driven by Cole Serrato. That's the 4th car in that little scrum. Doesn't seem to be affecting its speed as he pops out trying to get a run here. Dynan eases back by on the Ginetta. Here comes Burton down to the inside, deep into the braking zone. This is got to be very careful here when you got cars in packs like this. Exactly that.
It's a taste
That's
of battle,
something
it
just
really
came
is.
off of the Reardon car.
Yeah, he suddenly slows up. I thought there's smoke.
That looked like flame.
Ran over that curve and suddenly, he's dropping oil, I think. Big time.
Yeah, Yeah, he is.
I ruptured the sump or something. Let's take a look.
Because there was flame at the exit of 12. Watch for it.
Yeah, watch as they come off the corner. I thought it was something off the BMW,
Boom.
but...
Oh, it's a touch.
Touch there. Yeah.
Yep. As we said, we get these cars in these scrums.
Bump and run there by Anderson.
Well, I'll tell you that last time up through turn 9, Anderson was crossed up as well, working his way around Reardon, Burton in that Reardon car. So these guys are, boy, they are racing hard early on, Cal.
They are. And
3 minutes from the window.
Yeah, and I'd hate to be in the steward's room right now because I think some of this stuff's looking pretty aggressive and feisty. So I'm sure they're going to try and keep everyone in check here.
Well, and that's one of the things that, you know, these tracks that have these huge runoff, paved runoff areas, it does, oh, look at this move by Anderson, is just sweeps to the outside of Serralo, just using the momentum of that little Ginetta in those S's now. Oh, look at that, crossed up, what a save.
Both these drivers are really putting it on the line here this morning.
Stuff.
This is great stuff.
Ooh, and a touch there. Serralo turned in and just kind of whacked Anderson. I don't know whether that was just he didn't realize Anderson was there, or he felt a little aggrieved at some point. But
I think they both know where they're at right now.
Yeah, how could you not?
We'll
but we have a full course yellow. And my guess is, Cal, it might be for oil down on the track. And here's a new thing for you. Our Race Vision powered by AWS. And it's fastest speed down the straights. And right now, Jared Andretti, 155 miles an hour. But Walker Jr. in that BMW that's been struggling a bit, second quick right now.
Yeah, and as we expected here, we've seen it for a few rounds now. The McLaren and the BMW are very strong in the straightaway stakes, and that's taken on the approach to turn 12. We see Jeff Burton with that incident and the damage, and smoke still emanating from that right front corner there.
Yeah, we're getting a report now from race control that that's why we're under yellow, and that they have been seeing some flame, and so that's why this has happened here. And on that, when that incident happened, when we cut to the head-on shot, I thought I saw some licks of flame, and I think you're right. They must have just got into an oil cooler or something here.
I believe that we may be delaying the pit window opening that should have happened in about a minute, so I think we'll try and clean this up. Let's take another look at that big feisty battle there down in the turn 12 brake zone. Everyone trying to get in there through together. You see Anderson just coming across, and it was more Burton really getting into him. I don't think Ben moved at all really. He was on the same line exiting turn 12, and just a critical contact point there on the right front of the Aston.
Then we cut in the actual live cut to the head-on shot, and that's when you can see the early licks of flame that indicated that, and I think you caught it as well, that he was obviously putting some stuff down on the track. So we're under a full course caution here, as you said, but while we've been watching all of this action, Parker Chase has fought his way up into second overall in the Esperani Avezzano, behind Whitmer, with Andretti now third. Miller still in fourth in the Team ST Racing entry, the number 38. There is Parker, right behind him Andretti. There's Miller just coming into your frame. And then Dynan. Wait, wasn't that long ago, Cal? We were saying Dynan really needs to figure something out. He was mired back and forth in the Pro-Am class and everything. Well, he's leading. So there's no question he understands what's the deal that he's got to do today here. All right, now let's take a look at this from a little bit different angle. And this is the one. Watch once the contact happens, watch that right front corner of that car.
You just see the angle that Jeff's in there and just gets
Right.
it to immediately has ruptured something.
Yep, you can see it's right there, the spits of flame. So then the question is did that little rub do anything to the back of the Ginetta? We saw Ben, after that happened, crossed up pretty good a few times, but I'd seen him crossed up pretty good a few times before that. So
yeah.
I'm not sure it really did too much.
Everyone at the ready here, including Zach Anderson, and they're getting pretty close to sealing the deal on that title, Greg.
Well, they are 42 minutes. What the team is saying, and you're a lot better at math than I am, but it makes sense to me.
Yep.
So
that's it. Basically 70% of the race you have to do, and it's been a great year. I mean, Zach has been sensational, but Sean Gibbons too. I mean,
he's really come alive.
Yeah, I mean, they've got 7 wins on the year, never off the podium. So just a brilliant season.
And Sean has a few, you know, it's in the Pro-Am pairings or the Am-Am pairings, obviously the Am pairings, you just pick who it's going to be. But when Sean has done the qualifying for the first race, when the Ams and the Pro-Am pairings are out there, he has put that car on the Am pole a couple of times. He's really come alive as a driver.
Just some clarification. I'm just seeing here on the app with the series that the KTM team, the 71 Milleroy's team, was saying that during the start, Alganian had the rear bumper hit, and that was under his left rear wheel when he was attempting to brake for turn 12. So that was why he went skiving in there. So we have to wait and see if that evidence can be put in front of the stewards and take away the possible penalty that had been sent for tomorrow's race.
Well, you know, in a way that makes sense, because in that incident, when he got into Quinlan, it was the right rear, I think, that would have touched Quinlan. So, interesting. There's Samantha Tan, who was getting ready when the pit window opens to climb on board the car currently sitting 4th overall in the hands of John Miller. And I'll tell you, Samantha Tan this year, particularly Road America, it's like that switch flipped. And she was feisty, argumentative. You know, somebody'd pass her, she'd go right for the counter pass. I think she's really starting to feel racy.
Yeah, and I think that was a real key moment. I think you're spot on in terms of the switch being flipped there, because it takes a race like that when you're thrown right in the battle and you have to defend, and there's no way out, and she was up for the task. I mean, ultimately she lost a couple of positions, but she fought hard for every single one.
Exactly.
And I think this will roll forward. I think for John Miller, I'm sure he's been telling her, listen, Samantha, you got to be more aggressive. You can't be so clean in your racing, because this is a class that demands that you got to be up on the wheel. And that was a great event for her. And be curious to see how that now moves forward with her career.
Well, and you know, she's relatively new to the racing and the like, and I think there's a certain point where early on, when you get roughed up, when you feel aggrieved, when you feel that wasn't a fair move, you get flustered and you lose your focus. Eventually, that turns into just getting ticked, you know, and you go, enough of this.
Yep.
And then you start fighting back, and I think that's the realm that she's hit now, and it was just fun to watch her race at Road America. We just saw a shot of Robbie Foley, who's been having just a mega year on a lot of different levels here, and he's going to be climbing in to replace Michael Dinan at the change. And obviously, he knows the mission as well here, and boy, has he been a strong finisher this year.
He's been tremendous. I mean, as you said, he's a very busy boy, running in multiple championship success wherever he goes. So he's getting the job done, and he'll know today is the day. We have to somehow win this race and minimize the damage with the situation with Michael not being available tomorrow.
And earlier we saw the Motorsports USA, the number 111 McLaren, duck into the pits having a bit of an issue. Ryan, what's the story?
Unfortunately, the situation is quite grim. There was contact that pushed the exhaust of that car into the transmission, and that caused an oil leak, which led to the fire that I think we saw. Certainly some teams were reporting that fire earlier in this race. So they are out for the day. They're going to have to go to work to try and get that car ready for tomorrow. Also, you guys were talking about James Walker Jr., the great qualifying effort, but he lost those spots at the start. And I did have a chance to check in with his co-driver, Bill Oberlin, who told me that evidently he was just caught out in the wrong spot in that first lap incident and had nowhere to go. Luckily, there was no contact. The car is fine, but he did not have an escape path, and a bunch of cars were able to get past him. So they've got their work cut out for him now to try and recover from the lost ground there early on in this race.
Here's a look at Kenton Cook. He is just a great character and is so passionate about this. And he and Brian Putt and Kenton's wife put together this B Sport racing team. She's the team manager, and that's the kind of energy that that team has, and they needed it to get that car repaired. And Brian's been given a really fun ride out there, and Kenton gets behind the wheel. And Kenton, I think it's safe to say, is one of the guns in this paddock.
He is, and really the scenario, there's not going to be as much time left on the board when he gets in the car as he anticipated. But the good news is, in terms of track position and certainly the gap to the leader, he's in great shape. So we expect to see the safety car pull in. I would imagine that the lap after that we'll probably see the pit window open.
Right.
And then I would think you're going to see a lot of action on pit lane.
Yeah, I would agree. Here's Nikolai Elganian. You just saw a shot of his co-driver, Mads Siljehaug. And boy, were those two guys just mega impressive at Road America. We've been talking about this Race Vision powered by AWS. Another category we're watching is the fastest corner speed at the S's. And they picked one of the trickier parts of the S's here, turn 4, that bends into some of those tighter sections. And there you can see Miller in the number 38 ST Racing BMW is the one who's been carrying the best speed. Team car Nick Whitmer, and then Barber, and then Brian Putt. Carrying a lot of speed through that section of track, which tells you something. And this Race Vision by AWS, it is being developed on the fly, and it's already proving to give us this just amazing data. And it uses the AWS cloud service, but also elements within the cloud in terms of data processing and the like. They take the data up to the cloud, back down, and onto your TV screens. And I'm going to be fascinated to see what it shows us as this unfolds. There's a big thumbs up there. That is a guy named Grahovic, who's pretty quick.
Yeah, he's been on a roll of late. He's having a great late summer spurt here in terms of results and performance. And you had a great chance to visit with the classic BMW group this week, Greg. Very impressive facility.
Yeah, stop by and just got a tour of the facilities, and they put on a little bit of a dinner and invited some special guests, and it was just a really, really nice evening. And the one thing, you know, here's the thing. You think of the word classic BMW, it kind of sounds like maybe it's a BMW restoration shop, you know, where they, you know, do some, that's part of it. But it's a massive facility, one of the biggest BMW dealerships in North America. And the classic part of it really speaks more to that classic ethos of excellence of BMW. And after having visited it, I can say very clearly that they put the class in classic. It's an amazing facility, and housed within classic BMW is Fast Track Racing, which is the in-house race team that Toby oversees, and just success after success. And lights out on this. Ooh, that was really close by Parker. I don't think he expected Whitmer to suddenly do that little bob and weave there.
Going back to green here as the safety car peels off. In the following lap, the pit window should open.
Nick does it again, but Parker obviously had watched from a couple of cars farther back on that first restart and went right with him. And look at Cole Serralo getting the jump and trying to come up on Dynan. This is not for class position, it's for overall. It's actually Tim Barber on board. He'll be turning over to Serralo, but an opportunistic move there. But what it's done, it has now allowed Ben Anderson right back onto the rear deck of Dynan's Aston Martin.
Everyone's going to be pushing like crazy on this restart lap here to try and stay as tight as you can to the car in front, or for Nick Whitmer try and stretch as far away from the car behind, which is now Parker Chase. So we anticipate a lot of action up and down pit lane on this next lap. Pit window is open. Just came up on the timing screens for the team, so.
Boy, Andretti is hunting on Parker right now.
Parker defends to the inside. Jarrett's just going to sit out there. Watch John Miller. What does he do with this? Barber looks to the inside as well.
Well, I think the reason Andretti had no concerns about where Parker put that car when he pinched to the inside, Andretti knows the straight line speed of this McLaren versus that Avezzano, and he's already through.
He is through. So the championship leaders are up to second. The guys who are chasing are in the lead as we get to this round of pit stops potentially. Look at Miller, a massive big run down the inside. That was super late on the brakes.
Yeah.
No way he could keep on the racetrack.
Nope, that lets Andretti back through.
Lucky there wasn't contact there. I mean, that was pretty sketchy.
And look at Barber now, cuts down underneath Miller. Miller's got the inside into this sequence, but Barber has that nose ahead.
Kind of going to try and cut underneath. This is getting really feisty as we expect some of these cars to die for pit lane. There's a touch. Miller keeps it together. Bit of red mist out there this morning, that is for sure. Who's going to die for pit lane first? Andretti comes, Dynan comes, the others stay out.
Interesting. All right, so our first two, then I think that is Keegan has come in as well. Look at this side, but they're still touching. These guys are not happy with each other right now.
There's a little bit of aggression going on out there this morning, Greg, so I think there may be a little sit down with a few of these players later today.
Boy, Miller wanted to cut back underneath Barber, and Barber just was almost looking more at Miller than the apex to make sure he didn't have a chance to cut back. As the stops unfold, Colin Mullen climbing on board.
Robbie Foley taking over from Michael Dynan. See if they can continue the tear that they're on. That's really all about the overcut versus the undercut right now in terms of the Nick Whitmer, who stayed out there, clear racetrack up ahead. He's going to absolutely try and nail this in lap if he decides to come this time around. I mean, the tires are not changed, so there's not so much of a warming up phase for the new drivers getting in, even though the new drivers have to get in a rhythm. Big lock up there by Anderson.
This car does not have ABS, and so the ABS function is all that driver's braking foot. All right, how do we do on these stops here? Well, not bad, but certainly within the safe margin.
They're all pretty good. 82 seconds is the number, and we're seeing 82.8 for the Andretti squad, 82.8 for the Flying Lizard team. 82.9, Matt Keegan to Ian James, our 2019 GT4 Sprint champion. Great to see him back in our paddock.
And Walker over to Oberlin. They are going to have to use their joker.
Yeah, 81.5. So long as you're within a second, you're allowed to use that 1 second joker, but just once on the weekend. So they can't use it again tomorrow. Just trying to extract every possible ounce of time out here on this pit stop exchange.
I think Ben Anderson's going to be frustrated because with everybody else pitting, this was his lap to be able to just let it fly in this Ginetta, and instead ends up overshooting and costing a lot of time.
Nick Whitmer has stayed out there, so they're just really relying on this clear track up ahead of Nick Whitmer. We know he's been sensationally quick, had the pole position by 4/10, so they're just trying to really extend this gap. The problem you're running into is if you should be a caution of any type, you can suddenly have that lead and gap wiped out, so you're really rolling the dice a little bit.
Right now, yeah, Whitmer, Barber, Miller, Chase, McAleenan have all stayed out. Anderson has now pitted. And we're talking about Ben in the 63 Ginetta. There's the number 7. In the hands of Zach Anderson, who has been remarkably quick this year. That's Toby Grahovic behind the wheel of the 26 TAC Energy Classic BMW. Look and see, they have been in such a battle with that Motorsport USA McLaren.
Bad news from pit lane. Ryan Marine is reporting that the B Sport Racing Aston Martin is still in the pit. Some kind of oil leak from the contact that they must have had in those early laps. As we see one of the panos coming out. This must be the chase exchange.
Here's a look at the 51. On board that machine now is Roman DeAngelis, who we have seen a couple of times in then Pirelli World Challenge competition. I think he was driving a crossbow. event a couple of years ago and put on a bit of a clinic. Very, very talented young man.
Yeah, and there you can see the exchange. The Panos sort of like were neck and neck with the Andretti Autosport McLaren when Andretti made their pit stop. As finally the leader dives in here, Nick Whitmer, really putting some really strong laps there. If they execute a good, clean stop, there's no reason that they shouldn't cycle back to the front with Harry Gottsacker behind the wheel.
It's going to be interesting here because I'm watching for the number 3. McAleenan now finally pits. That car that had been leading in the AM category stayed out a long time, but had some good clear track. Be interesting to see how this all cycles through now.
So DeAngelis has got to get into a rhythm here quickly. The car is strong as Whitmer hits the pits.
GPI Biotech.
He was out of there pretty
wow,
pretty sharply.
Yes, he was.
So no tire change. You are allowed to adjust the tire pressures. Do a quick check there. Should be plenty of time here, provided you don't sit on the seat belts or get into a panic, as the CCR group now evaluates the damage to the front end of that number 25 BMW.
Well, it's been like that for a large part of the race, but they have been fast and plenty racy, so.
DeAngela's up on the wheel. See it really twitchy there. Come through turn 18. Like he's gapped Colin Mullen here a little bit on this lap. And there the 28 car gets releases, so there should be the gap. You're looking at it. Look at the CCR car though. They're coming out really strong as well.
Way short.
Oh, that's
Same
a problem.
for Barber and Serralo.
That's a big problem.
Yep.
That'll be a drive-through for our championship contender. Oh, that is a big error to make, particularly when they had a pretty healthy lead in terms of we're in no danger of losing that track position.
Well, and that's one of the issues when you have your pit stall right up close to pit out, is you can't modulate much at all and you accelerate out. And I almost thought I saw Harry Gottsacker try and brake for a second, but you do that in front of other cars, and that's a penalty as well. And he was maybe between the rock and the hard spot, and it came up bad because Barber and Serralo, that exchange, were right behind him.
Yeah, so they're going to have to do the drive-through as well. So for these teams that are following, important that that message gets sent so they don't get too aggressive. Robbie Foley looks down at the inside of Colin Mullen. Bit too far back. Now he just releases the brakes and rolls it to apex. Clears him.
Look at Mullen go for the counter move. Got to the throttle a bit sooner.
I think Robbie is willing to give it up. Then he just thought, well, okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But it's like Colin to get a good exit off of turn 11.
That was great patience by Mullen, knowing that this long straight's coming up, and if he can just get to the throttle a bit sooner, and it paid off for him.
Yeah, he's a really smart young driver, has blazing speed, and always seems to make the right choices.
And this is the number 38. John Miller in, over to Samantha.
Pretty casual, quick chat.
Yeah.
What's for lunch?
Look at that. There's that 15 Aston Martin. B Sport being pushed, but it looks like to the paddock. Look at this.
This is great action here down into turn 19. Serralo doing a great job. Foley now tucked back to the inside, and he'll have that line down into turn 20. And we see the second of the Panos. Somebody looking for a way through.
Ian James, who is the defending Sprint GT4 champion.
He's running against some guys he hasn't really competed with that often, so you've got to learn how their behavior is in tight quarters. Samantha there getting released from pit lane.
After what happened with Nick and Harry, they were extra conservative, and their stop was 84 seconds.
Maybe that was that chat they had.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right, knowing that their teammates had a problem, you expect them to make an immediate adjustment and make sure they don't run afoul of that.
Because they certainly have all this timing data down in pit lane that we do, and saw that.
Tell you what, though, that penalty is huge for Michael Dinan and Robbie Foley in terms of coming into this Excuse me, I'm getting mixed up with the classes now.
Yeah.
But huge for Mullen and Andretti.
Yes.
Who lead this championship.
What a battle this is going to be. Cole Serralo, who's a real up-and-coming talent. Ian James, vastly experienced driver, the defending GT4 Sprint champ. And right behind him, Jason Hart, who is just superbly quick.
James really deep on the brakes there. Look at Jason Hart, he's right with him, putting the pressure on. The key for the Panos group, they need to tell Ian here that 25 car's probably got a server drive through. So he now gets alongside, tight quarters through here. Really need to give each other a little bit of racing room, and Ian times that nicely.
Oh, beautiful. Keep an eye out behind these guys. There is a red and white BMW that is showing some speed. Bill Oberlin, Walker did his job after getting bottled up. He worked his way up through the pack a little bit. And then they turned over to Oberlin, and while others were pitting, Oberlin put in a couple of great laps, and he's now up in the 9th overall, 4th in Pro-Am. About 6 seconds adrift of Hart. There comes Oberlin.
Yeah, don't count him out. It's only 12 minutes on the board, but you know he's going to be digging deep here.
You bet.
Way to go to catch Robbie Foley, though. 4 seconds down the road.
Mullen right now, 3rd overall, 3rd in the silver category. As you talked about with points, expecting a penalty from Whitmer. Well, now it's Harry Gottsack who's taken over for Whitmer. Foley runs 4th overall, lead in Pro-Am.
Yeah, so for Robbie Foley, he's just got to be careful here. He's got to think about the big picture. Yeah, you want to finish as high up in a race as you possibly can, but no immediate pressure from behind. And he has the lead in class. Jason Hart sits there in the 3rd position, so that would be a 10-point swing. Would tie them right now.
Wow.
But the
so close.
21 beautiful Aston Martin is not going to be around for tomorrow's action, unfortunately.
And I think Foley, he'd love, if he can, of course, to get around Mullen cleanly and have that little bit of a buffer. And even though James, in that number 50 Panos, the one that's coming at us now, that red Panos, isn't in that points battle, he can still steal points.
Yes, he can, and maybe that's the urgency with Robbie Foley now, is like, if I sit here for too long, that's going to put me into the clutches of Ian James, then I would be losing points in this championship.
And we've seen fair evidence over the last few years that I think there's an argument to be made that Ian James is one of the absolute best at tire management.
He really is, and that's when he's been managing himself for 50 minutes. He's got his mate and good friend, Matt Keegan, who started this race. And you know, particularly with that caution, that there was a lot of the sweetness left in these Pirelli P0s for Ian James to go to work with.
Absolutely. There's Serralo still fending off Jason Hart, and here comes Oberlin. He's gone around Samantha Tan in that red line old Bimmer world. BMW taking a look. He just turned his personal best lap.
Yeah, it's only 3/10 off of Whitmer's best that was set a little bit earlier in this race, when the tires were probably more at their peak.
Yeah, and Bill, he just ran the previous lap a high 218, and the guys in front of him are running in the low 220s. So he is flying right now. Meanwhile, up front, and I wonder what the message here, obviously you would think that the Panos team is telling Roman DeAngelis, keep in mind this car is slated to do a stop. We haven't seen the warning come up yet.
Right.
And so until the warning comes up, they don't have to do anything, obviously, and I'm not sure they even can if they wanted to. If they believe they've run afoul to do their own drive-through, you have to wait till the warning, and then you've got 2 laps.
Yeah, well, until it comes up, you can keep rolling.
Yeah. And if nothing else, you just drive as hard as you possibly can to open up as big a gap to anybody behind you to keep track position.
Well, that's the key, because you got clear racetrack right now.
Yes.
If you come in, typically you're going to be buried in the pack. You can't lay down the lap time, so they're going to try and get Gottsacker to just try and push as hard as he can. But we believe that there has to be a penalty coming. Looking at our timing and scoring data, they were definitely about half a second light on even using the Joker pit stop delta time.
And it's a roughly 37 seconds pit in to pit out, and then you add slowing down to get into pit, call it 40 seconds. So for Whitmer at this stage, when you look at the gap, I mean, he would be almost outside, well, he'd be outside of the top 15 easily. So that's huge. And look at there, you talked about Gallagher. Once he got behind the wheel, there was going to be some charging going on. He'd just gone around Zach Anderson, that's for 12th.
Just got word that the penalties are about to be put out there for both the 28 and the 25.
Gallagher now trying to square up. Got the run down to the inside of Samantha Tan. Into turn number 20. And Zach Anderson following him through. Gallagher now knocking on the door of a top 10. The guy in front of him is 4 seconds away. That's Jan Halen. He's going to be a busy lad this
He really is. Great to see him back in a GT3 car here this weekend. You know, he'll put on a show.
Filling in for Max Root, who started his first ever Le Mans 24 hours. And Jan Halen, affiliated with Wright Motorsports over the years as a coach in their GT3 Cup program, but also driving for them in other series this year. Just had a podium.
Yes, he did it. He rode Atlanta last week.
So
it's going to be a stop and a very slight hold for both the 25 and the 28. And it's 0.7 seconds approximately for the 25 and 0.3. So basically what that means is that's the amount of time that they were underneath the minimum, less the Joker time. So that's plus the time that it takes driving down pit lane. I'm not sure you need those few tenths added.
I think that's just a bit of
a
salt.
punch in the gut to begin with, yes.
Yeah, that's just salt. Oberlin trying to get down underneath Cole Serralo. Oberlin's gone around on Hart.
Yeah.
And now he drives around Serralo. Boy, that's close quarter stuff. Hart trying to square up, gets down underneath Serralo. Thought about going after Bill, but
so Bill can see the leader. It's like
yeah,
putting a steak in front of a hungry dog. You know he's going to be chasing after it.
well, you've got to believe that Bill's just a little bit frustrated because they had that just remarkable performance, I think, at VIR, and then had everything come off the rails at Sonoma after being very fast in practice. There's the first stop.
Yeah, we expect Gottsacker in on the next lap.
He's in, actually. He came in before.
Okay,
So
got it.
So that puts, how about that? Parker Chase returns to World Challenge competition and finds himself in the lead. There is Serralo doing that. Again, it's not a drive-through. It's a
momentary halt. By the time you stop the cars, basically go again.
I was going to say you stop and just release.
But that's how fine you cut it. You want to keep those margins tight so you don't lose too much to the field. But if you're underneath, they give you a second to work with. But if you're going to play with that second as well, you're really rolling the dice big time. There's been a couple of our really front-running and race-winning contenders here today.
Absolutely, and watching Ian James as he just sits planted behind the Andretti Autosport Window World McLaren of Mullen. Oberlin, last lap was about 4 seconds adrift, and we'll see if he's closing it up and by how much. And the interesting thing to me, there he is going to be if he gets there.
I don't think Hart has given up on that position
he
either.
Hasn't. He has not.
He is fighting tooth and nail to try and grab every possible point. Because right now, with Hart in the 4th position, that would actually give Dynan and Foley the championship lead today. But again, just reiterating, they will not compete here tomorrow.
just to throw a fun little wrench among the things, Andrew Davis just set fast lap of the race at a 2:18.2. He's that car right there, the number 2 Frost NYC GMG Racing entry, and he has been an absolute rocket ship late in these races, which one tells me that his co-driver Jason Bell is really good on tires.
Yes.
Because Andrew always has immense pace in that car.
Yeah, no good being fast if your teammate gives you a molten heap to jump into.
Exactly. Oh,
big wide movement there. That was a big catch there by Colin Mullen.
Sure was. And he held on to it.
He did. I think James was sort of like looking at him like didn't want any part of that.
There's smoke out of the back.
Yeah, I wonder if there's been some contact. Let's take a look here. Maybe there was a nudge from Ian James that created this situation. Sweeps back across,
yep.
Just misses it.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was contact by Ian James there that caused that moment for Colin Mullen. And now the big question is that going to cut down that left rear tire on the Andretti Autosport McLaren?
Well, it's also damaged the bodywork. That looks like in certain load situations, it's, as you said, getting down into that tire. There's Oberlin, there is Hart, there is Davis.
It's such a beautiful rhythm to the lap there as you come out of 18 and set up for 19. I really love that rhythm. It reminds me of the approach to Indianapolis at Le Mans.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Where you're sweeping across, but when you're nose to tail with someone, just looked like Ian mistimed it just a little bit. Maybe Colin just got out of the gas a little bit sooner than he anticipated and just brushed him.
And Davis has essentially caught Hart and Oberlin here. Halen's not that far back.
Yeah, and Andrew Davis laid down a lap good enough for the front row start tomorrow, so he's got pace and has already proven it this weekend. Has run lap times in qualifying in the 16s.
And Oberlin, remember the last time I mentioned it, was 4 seconds adrift to James. He's now under 3. Yeah, essentially Davis will be on pole tomorrow, won't he, with that penalty for not let RS1 Aston Martin. So
DeAngelis continues to lead.
Up and around the outside for Davis.
2 Porsches going hard at it here. GMG versus Nola Sport. Andrew Davis looks like he's got a slightly quicker car right now underneath him. More pace anyway, while he's getting the job done.
Foley just sets fast lap at a 2:18.048. That's a coveted award.
I don't think there's anyone going to catch him for the class win.
Yeah, he is.
DeAngelis very impressive as well. His last lap, or second from last lap, was a 1:18.1, his fastest of the day, as well as he continues to lead in class and overall.
What impressed me about him was that his outlap essentially. Oh, Davis is through on Hart.
White flag waves here.
And we are closing in this last lap beginning. I was going to say with DeAngelis, that outlap through 16, 17, 18, he was just floating that car around there.
He's really impressive. He runs with Ian James in a different championship, and Ian is very high on that young man. They ran together at the Rolex 24 last year, and Ian knew that this young kid has a lot of speed.
It's been a while since we've seen him here. I love that new graphics on the Panos there. Jaws, if you will. There's Foley.
A remarkable run for Flying Lizard Motorsport. Robbie Foley, Michael Dinan.
Yeah, just superb.
This will be their 5th win out of the last 6 races, and the only one they didn't win was a technical issue at Road America when the car shut down on them. So could have been looking at 6 consecutive class victories here.
Here's Mullen, James, Oberlin, Davis, Hart, Halen.
Oberlin's going to run out of time. Certainly had the pace to get to the front, but runs out of time and potentially getting that runner-up position away from me and James. It looks like we're down to the final few corners.
And Gallagher has a gallant run up through the field here. Sits 7th in the Pro-Am class, running really quick laps, but again, just running out of time.
There's a lot of quick cars. I'll tell you what, tomorrow's start is going to be extra spicy.
Isn't it? It is going to be spectacular, but Roman DeAngelis what a run he's put in. His first start in the championship. They didn't run at Road America. The team car did, of James and Keegan. This car didn't due to a testing incident. And that just, I think, got him even hungrier here. And what a run he's put in. Last turn. And a return to the winner's circle for Panos. World Challenge competition here in Pirelli GT4 America. There's Matt Keegan. Loving this. Look at Halen. Deep move on Hart. Right at the end. Hart tries to counter it.
Oh boy, it's our championship leader right there, losing a position, maybe more. I'm not sure if anyone else is close enough. Quick sprint to the finish. Gonna be tight there with Gallagher. Just recovers in time.
Oh, so only lost one spot. But was fighting hard, and there it is. 10th overall, winning in the AM category. Zach Anderson, Sean Gibbons, champions.
Nice job, guys.
Wow.
Impressive season.
Absolutely.
Parker Chase there, congratulating the crew. Great to see him back on home turf, essentially. I said to the local fans, unfortunately, no fans in the stands this weekend, but big announcement this morning. We will see them in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks, Greg.
Absolutely. They just made that announcement. That's huge. That'll, of course, be the season finale for this class and every part of the SRO World Challenge America, if you will, championships, and also, of course, the Intercontinental GT Challenge 8 hours coming up. And there is your CrowdStrike fast lap, and he said it late in the race, Cal. Robbie Foley at 2:18.048 in the Flying Lizard Aston Martin on his way to a crucial win in Pro-Am.
Yeah, just brilliant. And they did everything they could, and they really got a little gift there at the end as well, with Jason getting past there in the final corner by Jan Halen. So maximum point score for Foley and Dynan. That will give them the lead tonight, and then they just got to wait and watch tomorrow to see how much of that lead gets chewed up.
Exactly.
By the Nola Sport duo.
And you know, you think about it, Halen with that move, Hart, could he have just waited and just said, I got what I got? Yeah, but that's not in the instinct, and he tried to cut underneath, maybe get a run off, and just got to the throttle a little bit too aggressively. So here are the provisional results. Again, silver being won and overall by DeAngelis and Chase in the Panos. Foley Dynan for Aston Martin winning the Pro-Am category, and we've talked about it, the big implications points-wise there. And then Gibbons and Anderson winning an AM, and from what we believe, clinching the AM championship at Pirelli GT4 America's Sprintx competition with that help from Stuart Title and Trattori Wines and all the people that have stepped up, Porsche Fresno, CJ Wilson's group, that have just helped them out at every step of the way to keep them coming.
It's a bit like the duck on the water, right? Looked very smooth on top, wins and everything, but in between races there was a lot of work going on behind the scenes in terms of keeping that car on the racetrack with the funding and the sponsorship programs.
Absolutely. They were paddling for their lives, and ends up paying off here. And as always, entertaining race. Let's take a look at some highlights from round 13 of the Pirelli GT4 Sprintx Championship. From pole, Nick Whitmer. John Miller is a wingman, but as always, Jared Andretti getting a big run, and then 4 wide back in the pack. The Crossbow running wide, as did the classic BMW, the TAC Energy car. Everybody was able to gather it up, and there was a bit of contact.
There was, and I think importantly, there was some contact for Nikolai Alganians. We see Andretti, they're just sweeping to the outside and maintaining that second position. But look in the backdrop here. Watch Alganian come in. We believe there was contact on that first lap, and the Crossbow had damage and couldn't get it slowed down in time.
There's a little bit of a touch there and a big save by Charlie Belluardo. He's got tapped there.
It was pretty feisty here today, and then a big movement for the Reardon Racing Aston Martin. Slight brush of contact. We believe it split an oil cooler there on the front end of the Aston Martin. And unfortunately for Jeff Burton and his teammate Vesko Kozarov, they wouldn't see any further action today.
Then some great battling unfolding here. And right there, Ian James, little rare misjudgment by Ian, gets into the back of Colin Mullencal.
Just hooked horns.
It was enough, but the team car gets the overall win, wins in silver with Roman DeAngelis and Parker Chase. In this moment here, as Jason Hart trying to counter a last corner move by Jan Halen, just got to the throttle a bit too soon, dropped 1 spot, but gave up a couple of points to Dynan and Foley, who win in the Pro-Am category, and that could be pivotal in terms of points with Dynan and Foley missing tomorrow's final race of the weekend here. They'll be back, obviously, at Indy. But it's just going to be an interesting development here to see how this all plays out. And there is Roman getting out of the car. That is a quick lad.
He really is, really impressive, and congratulations there from his teammate, Matt Keegan. They had a great run, second place for he and Ian James in their class, Pro-Am.
I'll tell you, it's Pano's back, and that we've missed them, there's no question. They're great cars, great team, great program, and they came back. There's Parker. Nice to have him back as well. As you remember, at I think it was Portland, he ended up with an overall GT3 win with Ryan Dial. So he's a busy guy this year as well. As we're getting ready to hear from him, there's a look at the window world, and check it for Andretti entry. There's Colin Mullen looking things over here, but let's get down to Ryan Marine.
Parker Chase, Roman DeAngelis pick up the overall win here today at Circuit of the Americas. Parker, we'll start with you. I'm not sure when you knew this program even was going to happen. This was not supposed to be you in the car until pretty recently.
Yeah.
How quickly were you able to get yourself acclimated with this car and with the team and be able to put the performance in that you did?
Yeah, so it wasn't until about, I don't know, Monday evening, I think it was, of this week that it kind of came about. You know, in the first practice, we had a few issues with some electronic stuff, so I didn't get very many laps with a proper car in the first practice with no traction control and ABS and whatnot, and then it rained in the second practice. So qualifying was pretty much my first full like attack with this car and on a dry track, and we brought it home fourth in qualifying, which is good. Car was good in the race, which ultimately is what got us here we are right now.
And for you, Roman, you were supposed to be in this car racing at Road America, and it didn't quite work out that way. So you had to wait a little longer than you anticipated, but you get the result. How special is it to be able to put this car in victory lane?
Yeah, me and Parker have been good friends for a while as well, so it was good to be teammates coming into the weekend in general. We were both kind of on the backhand. I think we had like 2 or 3 dry laps in practice, and then jumped in the car for the race because we had an issue in qualifying as well for Q2. So it was good. It was good to get acclimated to the track. I've never really driven here in the dry much, so it's an awesome track, and I can't thank Panos and Galaxy and everyone enough for having us be teammates in the car this weekend.
Fantastic performance, both of you. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't get a whole lot better than that when you finally get your chance to come back and put on a show, and you not only win your class, you win overall.
I know, just amazing, and he's a bright young man, and great to see him showcase his talents out here this afternoon. Really impressive laps that he laid down, and I think importantly, getting up to speed quickly, captured the win for him.
Yeah, it clearly did, and they are impressive, and a lot of celebrating going on down in the Victory Circle staging area. And let's check in right now once again with Ryan Marine.
Yeah, another win in the Pro-Am category. Robbie Foley and Michael Dided, who we'll talk to in just a moment. Robbie, with the knowledge that you guys aren't going to be running tomorrow, how important was it to maximize today?
Yeah, I think for us in the point situation, we wanted to maximize our results. We're obviously close to the lead, or maybe now leading after this race, but yeah, we'll miss tomorrow. So we'll have a deficit to try to make up at Indy, but yeah, the race was pretty crazy for Michael at the start. He just played it safe, then made a couple positions back, and yeah, we had a pretty clean race towards the end. Had to pass a few cars, but the car is great. The Flying Lizard guys gave me a great Aston, and yeah, happy to bring home another win with Michael.
Yeah, really great performance from you, Robbie. Fastest lap of the race as well. Michael,
Thanks.
We'll have you step in and join us. You have to fly out and won't be with us here tomorrow. You got family commitments. How much are you going to be watching, though, knowing that the racing is going on without you, and there are points implications depending on how things play out tomorrow?
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal to be missing the race tomorrow, but it is what it is. So we just have to maximize our points for the remaining races. Fortunately, we were able to do that today, and hopefully things work out. That's all we can hope for, yeah.
All right, congratulations on another win.
Thank you, appreciate it.
And that does, we think, give them the points lead. But
It's about 7 points unofficially, so that's a really big day. I don't think they could hope for much more than that to A, win, and then see the Nola Sport car off the podium and down in 6th.
I think that was the biggie, and you can only imagine the look on that crew's face when Jason Hart had that quick spin, and they were probably saying, Jan Halen's a big, big guy for us right now with that late pass right there. So taking a look at those guys. But let's get down to not just the AM winners, but we think, Ryan, champions.
Yeah, absolutely huge. We've tallied the points, and Sean Gibbons, we believe that you guys are the AM champions with another win here today. Do you have the points tallied out that way too?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
I know
you.
this thing has been hit or miss really all season long, just trying to keep the program going. How much does it mean to you to be able to deliver this championship to the team that's believed in you guys along the way?
I mean, it's so amazing. When we started this, we're like, hey, we're going to try and go after this season, and we had a good plan, and then COVID hit. So, you know, the best thing for us to come out of COVID this year was actually to be able to pull it off. All the support from NOLA Sport and Porsche and our sponsors at Stewart Title and Trattori Wines and Porsche Fresno. We couldn't do it without all that support, and Zach did an awesome job all year in the car. For me, coming back here at Cota, where I won my first SRO GT4 win in 17, to do it again this year, incredible, and to win the championship at home, amazing.
Yeah, fantastic performance. Congratulations,
Thank you.
Sean. Let's bring Zach on in now. And Zach, we talked about your story throughout the season, but for those who don't know, you always wanted to do this. You wanted to be a professional racing driver, but you've been on the sidelines for about a decade until this opportunity popped up.
Yep.
Now you're a champion. Can you believe it?
I can. I mean, if you would have told me, probably, I mean, I would have questioned it, but I do. I have the confidence in the NOLA Sport and Porsche. And I love you, Mom and Jay. Without them, Stewart Title wouldn't be on the car. Sam Owens, OGH Motorsports, Porsche Fresno. Everyone involved, to Troy Farms. I mean, every weekend we are scrambling to get here, and we pull it off, and we just end up, I don't know, it's just such a cool day.
And
So cool.
Jason Hart as well, who drives the team's Pro-Am car. I know he's meant a whole lot to you in your career.
He has been my, he's been my mentor since I was about 12 years old. So I walked into a Viper Speed Shop, and he was behind the counter, and he's been kind of coaching me since those days. Obviously had a big sabbatical from racing altogether, but he's always been guiding me along and, pointing me in the right direction.
Well, you are a champion. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.
It really is a remarkable story. He said after all that time away from racing, he was doing some coaching and working with the Porsche Driving Experience Center and the like as a new vehicle delivery specialist. But he got a call from Jason in the offseason and said, I got an opportunity. I never forgot about you. This guy named Sean Gibbons I want to partner you up with. And they end up as champions. Absolutely remarkable story. We have one more race, of course, in Pirelli GT4 America's Sprintx Championship competition here at Cota tomorrow morning. Make sure you come back and join us then. Until then, take care, everybody.